These days, all the cool kids are driving utes that look like they've been working out. They stand out with their toned bodies, muscular stance, rugged boots, and ready for action names like Warrior, Rogue, Thunder, and of course, Raptor. Now, Australia's third best-selling ute, the Isuzu D-Max, joins the club with the new B-Lady.
It's Blade.
Sorry, Blade. Is it fit enough to take up those pumped-up ute rivals? My name is Byron Mathioudakis for CarsGuide.com.au, and I hope you're as pumped as I am to find out. Let's dive straight in. Sitting at the very tip of the D-Max range, the new Blade starts at $76,990 drive away. Now that's 9k more than the previous flagship, the X-Terrain. Do keep in mind though, that the Blade is actually based on the D-Max LSU that costs almost 15k less. And as with the Warrior, Thunder, Rogue and Ford Ranger Tremor that Isuzu is chasing, you don't get any more performance. So what does that extra 15k buy you? Walkinshaw, formerly of HSV fame but more recently responsible for the remanufactured Ram 1500, Chevrolet Silverado and Toyota Tundra, has brought some significant upgrades to the Blade in an Australian exclusive program that spanned 3 years, more than a dozen prototypes and over 100,000 kilometres of local testing. Over the regular D-Max, changes include upgraded suspension, better clearances, improved underbody protection and bolder visuals. Let's check those out right now. Right, Walkinshaw's designers have created this new grille insert which is a little bit larger. It's got these hexagonal kind of design motifs as well as a light bar integrated underneath, and it looks really good. Speaking of underneath, there's a new bash plate. It's red and it says Isuzu. Of course, around the side there are these new wider fenders and completely redesigned 17-inch alloy wheels which are bespoke for this model. Meanwhile, around the back, the Melbourne crew also designed this quite handsome new sports car. Of course, there's the Blade motif at the back with these stripes that are also on the bonnet at the front. While around the back here, you'll find slightly wider and elongated wheel arches to accommodate these new wheels. And here are some further changes that you may not have noticed at first. All up, the Blade enjoys an extra 29mm of lift, partly due to the fitment of larger shock absorbers for greater chassis control. That new wheel and tyre package widens the tracks by 32mm to aid handling and stability, and if you get stuck in the middle of nowhere, the Blade features an 8-ton load-rated dual-hook single-piece recovery point frame with cross-bracing for extra chassis rigidity. Basically, it'll be harder to bend the chassis out of shape if you're trying to yank this thing out of the bog. If you're expecting a similar level of change inside compared to the regular LSU version of the D-Max, you'll be sadly disappointed because you basically just get embroidered seats, embroidered mats and a plaque, a numbered plaque to tell you what number Blade you've bought out of the 400 initial production run. Not much sense of occasion in here then, but the Blade isn't actually lacking in anything too important at this price point, with dual zone climate control, leather upholstery, powered and heated front seats, walk-away central locking, and this 9-inch central touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto functionality included. Plus, there's sufficient space, a good driving position and comfy seats, while in the rear of the D-Max cabin, most expected items like USB ports, rear seat aircon vents and some under-cushion storage are provided. It's all pretty civilised in here. Out back though, beyond the tub liner, you will need to pay extra for a tonneau cover, while there are no extra side steps or power points or surround lighting as in some other utes. But then again, this is meant to be a no-nonsense workhorse with extra 4x4 abilities. So it's worth keeping in mind that the Blade has a slightly lower payload capacity. However, it does maintain a 3,500 kilogram towing capacity, so that's good. And also, like the rest of the D-Max range, it's got the soft close and open tailgate. Meanwhile, back at the front of the car, if you want performance in your ute, The bad news is the Blade is no more powerful or torquier than the regular D-Max, which means it maintains the 3-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine. Also, it doesn't get struts like the latest Ranger, which is really annoying. But unlike in the Ford, there aren't any fancy new electronic all-wheel drive systems either. Just the same trusty old 6-speed automatic transmission and part-time 4-wheel drive setup, as found in every other D-Max 4x4, as well as its Mazda BT50 fraternal twin, since this generation launched here in 2021. That said, the Blade behaves quite a bit differently both on and off-road. Ever since Isuzu launched the current generation D-Max in 2021, it's been widely regarded as a huge improvement over its predecessors, but a pretty middling effort in terms of on-road performance and dynamics. Now, by performance, I mean not the way it goes, because it's got quite a lot of power and tons of torque for it to be a really easy and effortless towing vehicle, but by that I mean in its steering and handling. It steers okay, it's light and it goes where you want it to, but you don't really feel connected to the driving experience, while the ride, I think, can be quite jolty and bumpy and a little bit unsettled. And no D-Max since 2021 has really remedied that. But for 2025, with the Series 2 version of this generation, a lot has happened, and that includes changes to the driver assist systems and the traction and stability controls, as well as a few other improvements underneath. But it's Walkinshaw's touch that transforms this. It has to do with the dampers really, and what they do is that they make you feel more connected to the road. And by that I mean you get more steering feel, and the suspension rides over bumps with more suppleness and comfort, and it feels a little bit more controlled, and that translates into a more fun and enjoyable driving experience. I think it brings it closer to the class best, which of course is the Ford Ranger. I wouldn't say that it is class leading, but gee, it's a much better compromise than it was before. Well, that was certainly a revelation. But what's it like off-road? Let's find out. Tested out at a 4x4 track in Adelaide, the Blade builds on the D-Max's already impressive off-road ability, with that little bit of extra lift and ground clearances allowing for the ute to go just that little bit further over challenging terrain. Though it lacks some of the fancier features you find in some more expensive machinery, like under-vehicle camera views and automatic electronic 4-wheel drive mode selection, the basics are all there for serious 4-wheel driving. Where the Blade stands out compared to regular D-Maxes is in its more comfortable and controlled ride, since the suspension seems to do a better job in dealing with the rough stuff while isolating its occupants from it. This is quite remarkable considering that no properly off-road tyres are fitted, just these Goodyear Wrangler Duratrac RT all-terrain rubber. They feel like an effective compromise for on as well as off-road use. All up then, the Blade is a better D-Max from behind the wheel. But is it any better or worse when you're standing in front of the diesel Bowser? Okay, despite the fact that there are weight and size differences, the Blade still uses the same amount of fuel as the regular D-Max. The Blade hasn't been tested specifically for an ANCAP crash test rating, but the rest of the D-Max range scores a 5-star result. Remember that Isuzu was the first of the utes in Australia with a wide suite of advanced driver assist tech, including front and automatic rear emergency braking, adaptive cruise control and lane keep systems. Read my full review at carsguide.com.au to find out more. And speaking of more, okay, like all D-Maxes, the Blade gets 5 years cap price servicing, 6 years warranty with 150,000 kilometre limit, and 7 years of roadside assistance chucked in. What's my final verdict then? There's no doubt in my mind that the new Blade is the best D-Max ever sold in Australia. And what Walkinshaw has done to its on-road dynamics as well as off-road capability really elevates the ute. Whether it's better than a Raptor or a Warrior remains to be seen, but gee, doesn't it look good, eh? Anyway, you can read the full review at carsguide.com.au, and as always, thanks for watching.